To the public that are here. It's great to see you all. And also, Terry, thanks to be online. Hopefully you can hear and see us. That'd be really great. And others who are online. Okay, just for the public, this is actually going to be quite a quick public meeting. A quick joint committee meeting. We've got a few decisions to make, or at least one that we need to get through. And then we have got a workshop afterwards. Because we are dealing with some major issues going forward. Next August 2024, we need to go to the public to get their view on the strategy going forward, and that needs to come with some funding advice, and we'll be workshopping that for the next, Phil, how many times have we got planned? I've just off the top of it. But four workshops we'll be working on. So this particular workshop we will do without public, but we've been advised that workshops going forward possibly could become public. And we as management and councillors actually welcome that in a way, that we actually have the public viewing and seeing what is going on in workshop. Workshop is not making decisions behind closed doors, but it's just purely to get our thinking and testing some of the ideas, and then we'll come back to a joint committee and we'll make decisions there. And by public having a vision over and seeing what's happening at these workshops, then when the decisions are made, you actually can see the background of the discussions that have been held. So that's sort of a matter of transparency. Okay. Before we get started, I'll just do housekeeping, and then I'll ask Zan to open us up with a karakia. So the meeting is live streamed, and it's also on the Facebook page. In the case of an earthquake, drop, cover and hold. The shaking is long or strong. When shaking subsides, leave the building through the nearest exit. Proceed immediately towards Napier Hill along Dalton Street to Tiffin Park. Continue up the steps to Cameron Road. I'm from Twyford. I wouldn't have a clue where that is, so I'll follow all of you guys. Evacuation. If an emergency alarm sounds, immediately evacuate the building through the nearest exit and proceed to the assembly area on the grass at the corner of Dalton and Vautier Street. So that's on that side of the building there. And the emergency exits, they are over there, and I'm required to point those out. Toilets are located at the back of the hall, and for those who have been here before, no doubt know where that is. Okay. Zan, can I ask you to start with the karakia, please?
Kia ora, Chair. So look, what I'm going to do is I'm going to commend everyone, if they haven't already downloaded Te Kupinga, the app. I'm commending people to go to their favourite app store and download that. I won't wait for them now, but it is a treasure trove put together by the councils of Hawke's Bay of tikanga and general advice around Te Ao Māori. So it's a fabulous resource. We will do whakataka. Me karakia tātou. Whakataka taihau ki te uru. Whakataka taihau ki te tonga. Kia mā kina ki uta. Kia mā taratara ki tai. E hi aki ana te atakura. E tio, e huka, hei hauhu, ti hei maunui.
Thank you, Zane. Okay. Are there any notices no notices? Any apologies?
Yes, we have Councillor Charles Lambert and Evelyn Ratama from Mana Ahuriri.
Okay, excellent.
Chair, also Tanya Hopmans, who's busy on cyclone recovery work this morning, gives her apologies.
Okay, thank you. Any others? No others?
Tanya Kua.
Tanya Kua, okay. Can I have a mover so that we accept those apologies? Councillor Redstone and Councillor Brown. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. Okay. Are there any conflict of interest declarations to be made? None. Thank you. Then we go to item 3, confirmation of the minutes of the Clifton to Tangoio Coastal Hazard Strategy Joint Committee held on the 22nd of 22nd of September 2023, which was ably chaired by Councillor Brown. So, are there any alterations that need to be made to those minutes? Can I have a mover to adopt those minutes? Councillor Brown? Councillor Dixon? All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. And once again, thank you very much for taking the chair and looking after that, not just once, but even the previous joint committee as well. So I really appreciate it. Okay, we then go to decision items, which is item 4, and that's on page 3 of the papers. Simon.
Thank you, Chair. This is a reasonably straightforward item, I believe. Keen for your feedback. This is a result of conversations last time about our terms of reference for this committee and the fact that it currently includes tsunami, but that is not a current focus for the current phase of work. So there's a minor amendment proposed to your terms of reference, which is on page 10 of your agenda. If your page is the same as mine, it's the green text, where it just really clarifies that the current focus is inundation and erosion, and that in future reviews and to consider other hazards as information becomes available. So a minor change for clarification purposes.
Okay. Any discussions, any questions on that change? We're going really well.
I'm happy to move.
Happy to move. Councillor Redstone as seconder. Don't need to talk to that?
No, I think we had quite a good discussion on it last committee meeting. It just sort of makes sense. It's more of a CDM response rather than a long-term strategic approach like this committee's focusing on. So.
Okay.
I agree with that, and I think it has a different cause and effect as well, so, yeah, happy with that.
I always wondered how you could protect from a tsunami, you know? How high, how fast, how strong. Anyway, that's good. So I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. Then we go to item 5, and you'll find it on page 13 in the papers. Follow-up actions update. Simon.
Thank you, Chair. In interest of time, I wonder whether or not I should just go straight to questions on any actions that people are concerned about. So I'll hand straight back to any questions you may have.
Are there any questions? Just for the public, we're trying to get through the joint committee as quick as possible because the workshop is rather urgent, so it's really important. Normally we'll spend more time on this, but we're trying to get through the joint committee meeting as quick as possible so we can get into the workshop afterwards. Any questions from? None. Maybe you've done a good job, Simon. Maybe that's what it is.
Just,
Yeah? I don't really want to completely stifle the discussion, of course. Go ahead.
oh no, just it would be quite interesting to have a little bit of narrative around the first one around the submission that's currently under, that we're still working on for the MPS.
Thank you. Through the Chair, I do have that in my PM report too, so perhaps we can chat about it then.
Absolutely.
Excellent. And that's due 18th, correct?
Actually, it's 20th, so it's a typo in the actions. It's actually 20th of November,
Okay.
but still only about a week away.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of time, that's correct. Okay, then we go to,
Can I get someone to set that?
yeah, we go to accepting that. So for information, have we got Councillor Brown? Have we got a second note? Councillor Price? All those in favour say aye.
Right.
Against? Ayes have it, I think. Okay.
Just a point.
Yes.
Two of us from Napier
Yeah,
moving and
Curtis,
seconding.
yeah.
Okay. Councillor Redstone, we haven't picked it up yet. Can you guys just split me in the next time? That's a good.
No problem.
It's okay. Then we go to item 6, Hawke's Bay Climate Change Adaptation Initiative Stocktake on page 17. Simon, to you again.
Thank you, Chair. This was presented at a last meeting, but we didn't have a quorum to accept it, so it's been brought back ready for that purpose. I think it was pretty well discussed last time, but again, if there are questions on it, happy to take those. Otherwise, I'll hand it back to you.
Okay, thank you. No questions? Obviously, it was well discussed. Have we got a move of Ben and Councillor Brown? All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. Okay, we're flying through. Communications and engagement plan update. Item 7, page 23. Simon.
Thank you, Chair. This is a bit in the same category, so it's a straight duplicate of the paper that went to the last joint committee. We couldn't pass it because of quorum. There was a presentation given at the last meeting to support this paper, so really bringing it back just for housekeeping to confirm it's accepted. But again, if there are any questions, happy to respond to those. And Rebecca Ashcroft's here from Frank Engagement to assist on those questions if there are any.
Okay. Any questions, discussions? Dan?
Chair, maybe one for Rebecca. Do you want to come forward, Rebecca? Thank you. Just for the benefit of anyone who's online and listening.
Oh, attached, sorry.
So my question was just about engagement with the broader ratepayer community. It seems that it might be kind of implicit or inferred in there, but they're not identified as a separate group. I'm just conscious that they will have a very strong interest in when we go to the financial consultation. They're probably going to be very interested. Thank you.
Apologies, that was an error. When I gave the presentation, I'd included ratepayers in it, but they've definitely been identified in the plan.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so it won't be specific, we'll go right across. Okay, very good. Any other questions, comments? If not, then I'll move that.
Sorry, Chair, I just make the other observation that in terms of the timing, just to be clear that, so the consultation around this is August next year. That will actually be after the close of our regional council's own and presumably district council's own long-term planning processes. So the output of this will not be captured by the existing long-term planning processes, so they will have to catch up with that at some point.
At some point, yeah, that's right.
And just through the Chair, that's correct. So the consultation on this will be as a proposed LTP amendment. So that's the intention.
Thanks, Simon.
Yeah, and timing is always going to be very difficult, very tight, always was going to be. But we can only move as fast as we can move. And we definitely need to plan, Special Hawkesbury Regional Council, we need to plan to be able to actually engage with the strategy, which is really important. Because any dropouts of dates, as we had in the last term, become really difficult for the TAG and decision making. So no, it's good, looking good. I'm quite impressed with what you put forward, although I gave you a hard time prior to the meeting. We'll know it will be straightforward and clear. Fewer words, more pictures, I think. Very important.
Thanks for the advice.
Okay, comms expert, yeah, exactly.
And some colouring pencils.
Yeah, something like that. Well, actually, you can test it out of me, you know, I'm a ratepayer. That's how it goes. Anyway, so we've got a mover and a seconder. Have we got a mover and a seconder?
No, not yet.
Can I have a mover? Zan and a seconder? Alwyn? All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Will accept. So I think, thank you very much, Rebecca. You can get hooked up again on the power. Okay. We then go to the item 8, Project Managers Update, page 27. Simon.
Thank you, Chair. So there's really two things I'd like to highlight in this report. The first is on the dashboard there, I have suggested a change in status for the Mātauranga Māori work stream. And really that's just to signal that there is quite a bit of work still to do on that work stream. We have, with the support of our contractor, Aramanu Ropiha, started a range of hui. We had 3 of them on Tuesday this week, and we've got some more coming up. So we're certainly starting out on that work stream. The main reason for the change in status is really a reflection that as PM, I'm not crystal clear yet what the critical path is for that work stream ahead of the strategy being notified. What are the critical outcomes from that work stream? They need to make sure the strategy reflects that fairly and appropriately. We know how busy the world is out there, and getting FaceTime can be difficult, so I was keen just to highlight that for your interest, that this requires some effort and energy to make sure we do a good job of it, and not just to colour code it green and pretend all is going as planned. So it remains a key focus, certainly for me, to make sure we do a good job of that work stream. That's the first thing. And the second item to note, which has been asked about before, is the second opportunity for this joint committee to form a submission. This is in relation to the NPS for natural hazard decision making, which is out for consultation right now. We don't know how this will go with the new government. It was obviously put out under the previous regime. How this will be moved forward, we don't know, but the submissions period is open right now. I suppose the main thing to note is we are aware there's a lot of submissions already being formed by LGNZ and by various councils. I know Napier's working on one. I think Hastings are considering it. So a lot of work has been done on the technical detail of what this NPS currently says. The general sense I have heard from the submissions being formed is a general sense that this NPS can and should do more than it currently does. As a reminder, the focus of this is on really future development and giving the whole government greater ability to decide about where development should or should not be based on a hazard and risk consideration, to try and really prevent the problem from getting worse while we're still working on fixing past decisions. So it is quite technical in its coverage. Personal view is that the technical detail was well covered by those submissions mentioned, but I think there may be a role for this joint committee to, I guess, support the intent of that NPS. And I suppose my thinking is you could give a message that our work of this joint committee is really focused on these past decisions around development and trying to deal with those risks of past decisions made without the knowledge we have now. But perpetuating that problem into the future is perhaps not the wisest thing to do. So if you're interested in submitting, been working with a few staff on an outline for that, proposed it's quite high level and really focused on this committee's experience dealing with past decisions and supporting future decision making to be done in a more sensible way around risk.
Okay.
So Chair, looking for your direction on whether you'd like to submit. If you'd like to, I'm happy to put something together for you to consider by email, as we did last time, and submit it. I think it's due Monday week, the 20th of November.
Sam?
Your Chair, thank you, Simon, for that introduction and explanation. Can I ask whether that just relates to new development or would affect existing developments, please?
Yeah, it's only focused on new development, so it won't affect any old resource consents or any old developments. It's all about the new decisions being made by local government.
I did have a quick look at it this morning, and what struck me was the use of the avoid terminology. So my interpretation of what was that in relation to a new development that is intended to set a very high bar for controlling new development in high hazard zones. So it has a structure of high, medium, low, I think it is, of natural hazard, and then puts a very high bar for new development, which is good. And from regional council point of view, I'm sure we would welcome that. We have a long history of submitting on developments in a cautionary way and not being listened to. So this, I think, will help. I'm not sure how much it helps this committee, though, because and therefore the relevance and the amount of work and the need to submit on it, because we are dealing with existing situations and we're not new development, so not a high priority from my point of view.
Any other thoughts? Brown?
I suppose on one side, I'm loath to increase duplication of effort and having our other councils submitting and then we as a joint committee submitting as well. But on the other side of that, I felt like our submission that we've just put through on the 1st of November had quite a lot of gravitas because of the work and the experience that this committee has traversed over the last few years. And like when I read it, it felt like it was something that should be well listened to and that in my mind, I hope it would grab the attention of the MPs and the people in the select committee. So I feel like that experience and that work that we've already done positions us quite well and strongly to put forward a really solid case that will be listened to at central government. So I think if there was a way that we could combine efforts and just do a little bit extra to pull together something, I think it would be worth it.
And it's a bit like voting. You know, if you don't vote, then don't criticise what's coming to you. You know? Hopefully you all voted, otherwise you feel now. So yeah, we've got a view. Have we got a view either way? Personally, I think if you already have framed something up, that wouldn't take too much time to actually have at least our opinion there. As a strategy, we were right at the forefront around New Zealand. I think we've stepped back a little bit because we've paused somewhat, and there's other areas that have equalled us or gone beyond us in thinking and planning. So I think I favour what Hayley is saying, and that's the way I see it. Have we got a feeling around the table?
I agree. I think it'd be good to have a voice at least, or make some comment.
It's your one chance to have a real say. If you're not in, you can't get a say.
That's
so
right.
You've got to be in there, around the table.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with that, but I think it needs to be quite high level, because I think the regulatory authority should be dealing with the regulatory issues around it. But it's more the principles that we're dealing with, I think, that need to be reflected.
Yep. That's what you were thinking anyway.
I think it makes sense to me, and to go to Councillor Harding's point, you know, this isn't the business of this committee to think about new development, right? We're dealing with past development, so that's entirely on point from my point of view. So the idea of keeping it principled around, we know how hard it is to deal with past development at risk locations. We've dealt with this for the past 9 years. I think it's experience that's worth sharing, and keep it at that level. I think will give hopefully some weight to the fact that this is a needed instrument, but leave the detail to others. Makes sense to me.
Good. Councillor Harding.
I agree with that. My suggestion would be, Simon, if you could just connect with our consents team and just on that history, because it may be worth bringing some of the history of the efforts that have gone into past to set a high bar and failed and the consequences of that. So there might be a few stories that you can bring in to illustrate.
So we should develop a motion to give TAG the direction to actually submit. So how's the best way to formulate that is that this joint committee tasked the technical advisory group to formulate a submission to the appropriate direction. And then you can formulate
Yes,
all the
we
details.
can put together a motion that is need to pass it. We'll pick up the wording, and Simon's here, and you're giving him power to do that.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Seeing as it's already on our project manager's update as an action item, have we already got it covered off?
Could do it that way, but yes, no. What wording are you looking at that you feel that it's signed off? That we would actually approve if we accept these, the project manager's update.
So the action item is to coordinate with Coastal Hazards and Climate Action TAG to draft a submission on the National Policy Statement for National Natural Hazard Decision Making and coordinate with the committee to find the best way forward for submissions. Is that enough of a remit, or do we need to?
Yep. I would accept that. Anyone who feels that we need to make this stronger, and or that this covers it off? Okay. In that case, when we don't have to do anything, all we have to do is just accept the update and we'll go from there. Peter, you happy with that?
Yeah, not a problem.
Okay, that makes it very simple.
Just one last thing through the chair. As per last time, I'll circulate it by email for any comment, and then I'll ask the chair to endorse the final product before I submit it on your behalf.
Good, excellent. And it would be great if we could give comment and back to you. That would be really good. And I know that Councillor Brown had done that and even made some suggestions as well, so it was really good. Excellent. Okay. On that note, can I please have a mover and a seconder?
I do have a question.
Question first.
Yeah, on the report. So I'm looking at the project timeline with a great big red square on it, which indicates key risk. Yet the commentary is the target is on track to be achieved. So should that be a red or should it be a green?
Thank you. Through the chair, it's been quite deliberate on my part to leave it as red. I suppose I'm really mindful that this has been going for quite some time. We've had a number of delays in getting it to a point where it becomes a council proposal. I'm very mindful that the panel's put a lot of work into this way back in 2017, 2018. And so really, out of respect to all of the work that's gone into this, I was personally interested in keeping that as a key risk. I think continued delays in the space will only make it more difficult to get this moving forward. So mindful of the continued delays, yes, we're on target to meet our August deadline next year, but if that slips further, I suppose that's a risk I'm highlighting.
And which areas do you think are most likely to slip and cause a delay?
It's a really good question. I mean, as we talked about a number of times, the bulk of the work has really been completed. We've got recommendations from the panel on what the advice is for the next steps in the pathways. We've got some costs for those, some concept designs for those. A lot of that work is really well progressed. The key thing is this funding model. So that is a bit that if we can't find a way forward on, personal view, I suspect that'll be the one that might trip us up.
Yeah. So as a committee, what can we do to make sure that there is no trip up on that? Do we need to meet more regularly? Do we, no, I'm just asking, because it is a time thing.
I mean, through the chair, we've got a workshop on funding today. So really the primary purpose of the next 2 hours is to focus on that topic. In the workshop, we have a schedule to present to you to talk through how we propose to work through this process with this committee. And ultimately, it's HBRC, right, who are putting their hand up to make that final call on what will go out. So importantly, it has to be joined up with HBRC councillors. So we'll work through that in the workshop with our proposed schedule, and perhaps we can debate some further about what other risks we might see or actions we might take to reduce those risks. But from what I see at the moment, we've got a pretty clear pathway. We have enough time to work through it ahead of August next year. But we are obviously operating in a very difficult financial environment post-cyclone.
So just that schedule, does it mean that the funding consideration is done by late July, which means it's a very short time period before August 2024? And whether we need to, when is the end of that schedule?
Correct. So I'm looking at it right now. It is the last time this joint committee will kind of be asked to confirm the final product is in June. And then in July, HBRC will make its final call. And then in August, it'll go out for consultation.
Okay, so it's June.
June
For this committee.
For this committee.
And it's 5 workshops in total, and today we'll have our second. So quite a lot of work to be done, which is very important that we actually focus on. And, you know, unless you have any further questions or comments, I think this is the Achilles heel of the work that we've got ahead of us before August. So I think to keep it in red, and so your question is right. I have got it circled as well, thinking, well, actually, we're on target. We've got a plan, but we still got it in red. But we just need to make sure that we all stay in the lane to make sure that we actually get this done. Because 1 week, 1 month out completely could, one workshop not happening could make it really difficult, because we all have very busy schedules to fit it all in, and to find an opening for us to reschedule a workshop is actually very difficult. So, you happy with that?
Thank you.
Councillor Brown.
It's just a follow-up question or a statement on that, I suppose. One thing that might help us as a committee is, I understand you've got an infographic sort of Gantt chart in process that'll come on the next one of these that will sort of outline our project timelines. So that might help us have a bit more detailed oversight over it, but keeping it at a high level that's appropriate for us. But
Yes.
yeah, that might help us. Seeing as it's our key risk, seeing that more detailed information might help us have a bit more understanding and therefore comfort around it.
Definitely. And also, as a chair, I'll make sure that the members of the Hawke's Region Council who sit on this committee or the alternate will actually be fully informed and be here, because as a Hawke's Region Council, we've been a little bit slack in actually having our councillors here, and that's possibly personally my own fault by actually not making them aware of how important this is, because ultimately by August, Hawke's Region Council really needs to take this on board. So the more councillors that actually have vision of the work that we do and the trajectory that we need to travel is very important. So you can apologise for actually not being on task as I should have been. Okay. After all of that, we've got a...
No, we haven't had anyone move or anything yet.
You move. Thank you. Have we got a second? Councillor Brown. Okay, so this is to accept, receive and note the project manager's update. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. Okay, then we go to the last item, I understand. Current coastal projects update. Simon.
Thank you, Chair. And again, interest of time, we do have members from Hastings, HBRC and Napier here for any questions on these particular projects. So I suggest if you do have questions, we should go straight to those rather than run through in detail.
Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Redstone.
Thank you. On 13, Hawaiiana Shingle Crest Height, I understand there's been discussion about variation to the current consent, and just wondering when that's timed, when the discussion is actually timed for and when it's likely to happen. Because we're very aware on the coast that day by day anything could change.
Thank you. And Mark, could you assist with that one?
No, I can't. So I'll talk to Grant next and come back to you.
Thank you.
Can it be on an email?
Yes.
So, to all the joint committee members? That'd be great. Thank you. Since there was a question in the joint committee being asked. Any other question?
I've got a question on point 6, which is the memorandum of transition requires consultation with HBRC. And in accordance, a letter was sent by Napier City Council. Is that acceptable consultation letter?
I haven't heard that it wasn't, so I accept, but I can't remember that we as a council actually have accepted it. But I think we, in one of our council meetings, actually have accepted that communication from Hastings District Council. So, but we'll follow it up unless
Chair,
Simon's
perhaps
got.
Heather Bosselman from Napier could maybe assist with that one.
Kia ora. That letter wasn't intended as consultation, it was a request to enter consultation. And we are still waiting for a response from HBRC to that letter.
Okay. So obviously, our processes need to be tidied up on that one, because that's actually very important. If we have coastal work being done by one of the member councils, and then at the last moment, we actually haven't discussed this and taken this into the strategy, it could be a real sticking point. So what's the best way to resolve that? Apart from us talking to our staff and finding out where we're at. So...
And through the Chair, I know that Chris Dolly is working on that with the Chief Executive, or at least was last time I spoke to him about it, so thumbs up from Monique on that. But if you like, what we could do is elevate that into an action line in the Joint Committee's list, so we can make sure we report back on it at the next meeting.
Yeah, can we do that? Because there may be others that actually be following suit. Some of the work that Hastings District Council is thinking of maybe doing, and we're thinking of the TOI area, that we make sure that we actually have that communication in place.
But it does beg the question is what is appropriate consultation in that context.
I mean, perhaps through the chair, if we recall the context of this, right, this was where in the MOT it lists specific assets that are proposed to transfer subject to a formal agreement to do so. The consultation requirement was if there's any new assets that will come onto that list or want to be added to that list, HPRC was keen to ensure that it didn't just happen by default. There was a conversation that would take place. So I'm not sure if we need to define a consultation process per se, even if a result of that is the asset doesn't transfer. To me, that's not a catastrophic or negative outcome. It's more about how do we best manage these assets going into the future. So really it's a process step to make sure that HPRC is aware of new things that may be asked to transfer over to it, but it still has that final call on what it does accept.
Just a discussion point. I think the risk is really low. This is a very publicly well understood project that HBRC are pretty aware of will be coming as part of it. It's all consented. Yeah, it feels quite low risk.
Nevertheless, you need to make sure you follow the process, otherwise it can be tripped up at the very end. It was discussed initially when we actually looked at transferring strategy to HBRC, what would happen to structures, and one of the previous councillors was actually very strong on that. But once again, it became very clear that this wasn't a risk at all, because most of those structures, if transferred, already were consented, and they would have a lifetime, so therefore it would actually be very safe to actually transfer them into the strategy and come under HBRC. But it's a good point, but we've got an action point.
Just a quick question on West Shore Resource consent. Is there a timeline as to how long this will take and get a preferred option, etc.?
I'm hoping, is Jonathan, are you able to assist with that question?
Probably not a good enough answer for you at all at the moment, but I will be able to get back to you on that one there. Mostly it's to do with our internal resourcing at the moment. We've had lots of staff, so we're just recruiting, go through that recruiting process now, so that will be a rebuild back up. Yeah. We understand the consent's due
2027. 2027 is the consent's due.
Yeah. But we'll be going with that for the 6 months. We'll be applying for the consent for 4 6 months. That time period, circulation.
So we're looking at quite a time.
Okay. Does that answer your question? And you'll come back to...
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it answers it, but not what I wanted to hear.
It's not a fair world. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Then I'll ask for a mover and the seconder of the current coastal projects update. Have I got a mover? Redstone and Dixon. All those in favour say aye.
We've got the same council.
Two same councillors.
Again.
I'll second.
I'll jump in and help you out.
Okay, thank you very much for this time. So it's Redstone and Price. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. Okay, that brings us to the end of the joint committee. 10 minutes over, sorry about that, Philip. What I'll do is I'll ask Councillor Harding if he can close again and karakia, please.
Right, Chair, close with unuhia. Me karakia tata. Unuhia, unuhia, unuhia ki te uru tapu nui. Kia wātia, kia māma, te nākau, te tinana, te wairua I te ara takatā. Koia rā e rungu, whakaaria ake ki rungu. Kia tēnā. Aumie, uie.
Thank you.